Okay, so are you ready to dive deep into DeepSeek?
Always ready for a good deep dive, especially when it involves a company like DeepSeek. They've been shaking things up, that's for sure.
You got that right. And you guys sent us a ton of info on them, articles, analyses. It's a lot to unpack.
There's certainly a lot of buzz around DeepSeek, and for good reason.
So we're going to do our best to synthesize all of it and give you the need-to-know info on this Chinese AI startup that's making waves, challenging the big guys, and really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in AI.
It's fascinating how they're challenging those big established players like OpenAI and Google.
Right. I mean, they're coming out of nowhere with these incredibly efficient models, and they're not keeping them to themselves either, making them open source. That's pretty bold.
It's a bold move that's definitely got everyone talking.
So today, our mission is to uncover what makes DeepSeek so disruptive. How are they changing the game? What does it all mean for the future of AI? Where should we even start with a story like this? I mean, they've come a long way in a very short time.
Well, maybe we should start with the basics. DeepSeek was founded in May 2023.
Okay, pretty recent. By who?
By Liang Wenfeng.
Okay, and who is he?
He's a former hedge fund manager, actually.
Oh, interesting. Not your typical background for an AI entrepreneur.
Definitely not what you'd expect.
Yeah.
And what's even more interesting is that his hedge fund, Highflyer, is the sole backer of DeepSeek.
Really? So they're entirely self-funded, no venture capitalists breathing down their necks.
Exactly. They have a level of freedom that's pretty rare in the AI world,
Yeah.
Freedom to focus on long-term research and development without the pressure of external investors demanding quick returns.
That's got to be a huge advantage. They can really play the long game, build for the future, not just chase the next funding round.
It's like they're playing a different game altogether.
I like that, playing a different game.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've assembled a team that's ready to play that game too.
Oh, absolutely. They've got a team of primarily young, incredibly talented graduates from some of the top Chinese universities.
So they're not just going for the big names with tons of experience.
It seems like they're prioritizing raw talent and technical skills over traditional work experience.
That's pretty interesting. Makes you wonder if this could be a new emerging model for AI development, one that breaks away from the Silicon Valley norms.
It's certainly a departure from what we're used to seeing.
But let's move on to the actual technology they've been releasing, because that's where things get really exciting. I mean, their models have been making headlines.
Absolutely. DeepSeek has been on a roll, releasing one groundbreaking model after another at an astonishing pace. It all started in November 2023 with DeepSeek Coder.
That was their first big release, right? What was so special about it?
It was an open source model specifically designed for coding tasks.
Wow, open source right from the start. That's pretty bold. Were they not worried about giving away their secret sauce?
It seems their philosophy is different. They seem to believe that open source fosters collaboration and accelerates innovation.
So instead of keeping their cards close to their chest, they're sharing their knowledge and letting the community contribute.
Exactly. And in turn, that benefits everyone involved.
That's a pretty cool approach, and their models aren't just open source, they're also incredibly efficient.
That's right. They're able to achieve remarkable performance with fewer resources compared to the competition.
So it's a combination of groundbreaking performance and disruptive accessibility. No wonder they're making waves. And DeepSeek Coder was just the beginning, right? Tell me about the other models they've released.
Well, shortly after DeepSeek Coder, they launched DeepSeek LLM, a large language model.
So they went head-to-head with the big players in the language model arena.
They certainly did. And then came DeepSeek V2 in May 2024.
I remember hearing about that one. Wasn't it incredibly cost-effective?
So cost-effective that it actually sparked a price war in the Chinese AI market.
Wait, seriously? A startup forced giants like ByteDance, Tencent, Baidu, and Alibaba to lower their prices.
That's exactly what happened. It was pretty unheard of.
Wow, they weren't messing around. But they didn't stop there, did they?
Not even close. They kept pushing the boundaries, releasing DeepSeek Coder V2.
So an even more powerful version of their coding model.
Exactly. And then, towards the end of the year, they released DeepSeek V3.
That was a massive model, right? Something like 671 billion parameters.
That's right, a massive 671B parameter model. And get this, they trained it for an astonishingly low cost.
How low are we talking?
Reportedly just $5.5 million.
Are you serious? That's a fraction of what other companies typically spend. Okay, so They've got these incredibly efficient models. They're making waves in the market. But what about their latest release, DeepSeek R1?
DeepSeek R1 is designed for complex reasoning tasks, putting it in direct competition with OpenAI's O1 model.
And it was released just this month, right?
Just this January, yes. And what's particularly interesting is that the release coincided with DeepSeek's founder, Liang Wenfen, attending a high-level Chinese government symposium.
Oh, really? So there might be some government interest in DeepSeek.
It certainly suggests that they might hold some strategic importance for the Chinese government, adding another layer of complexity to their story.
Okay, so we've got an innovative startup challenging the established players, potentially with government backing. It's almost like a technological thriller unfolding in real time. But let's get into the details of their technology. What are they doing differently that allows them to achieve this level of efficiency and performance?
Well, it's not just brute force computation. They're utilizing some really innovative techniques.
Okay, give me the rundown. What are some of the key things that set them apart?
One of the most fascinating aspects is their heavy use of reinforcement learning.
Reinforcement learning, isn't that used in other areas of AI as well?
It is, but DeepSeek's implementation is unique. They're using it to allow their models to learn by interacting with their environment, like a digital apprentice.
Interesting analogy. So instead of relying solely on massive data sets, they're giving their models a more hands-on learning experience.
Exactly. And it seemed to be paying off, especially with DeepSeek R1 and its impressive reasoning capabilities.
I can see how that would lead to a deeper understanding of cause and effect. So they're going beyond just memorizing patterns. They're actually learning how things work.
Precisely. And that's just one of the innovations they're using. Another one is their mixture of experts architecture.
Mixture of experts sounds intriguing.
It basically means they have specialized modules within the neural network, each like an expert in a specific domain.
So instead of activating the entire network for every task, they're selectively engaging the parts that are most relevant.
Exactly. It's a brilliant way to optimize resource allocation and reduce computational overhead.
Okay, I'm following you. So they're being really smart about how they use their resources. And this MoE thing, it's particularly effective when combined with another technique they use, right? Something called multi-head latent attention.
That's right. Multi-head latent attention allows the model to process information from multiple perspectives simultaneously, like having a team of analysts each scrutinizing a different part of a problem.
So they're giving their models a more holistic view of the data, allowing them to see the bigger picture, so to speak.
Precisely. It helps them identify complex relationships and patterns that would be missed with a more traditional single-focus approach.
I'm starting to see why they're able to achieve such impressive results with fewer resources. They're really pushing the boundaries of how AI models process information. And on top of all that, they're using a technique called distillation.
You got it. Distillation is like transferring knowledge from a master to a student. They take the knowledge and capabilities of their larger, more complex models and distill them into smaller, more efficient ones.
Wow, so they're making their AI more accessible to a wider range of users and devices. That's pretty amazing. And I imagine all of this innovation has a significant impact on their costs, right?
Absolutely. One of the most disruptive aspects of DeepSeek's approach is their ability to significantly reduce both their training costs and their API pricing.
That's got to be a huge advantage, especially for smaller companies and developers who might not have the resources to compete with the big names.
It's like they're leveling the playing field, making powerful AI more accessible to everyone. And their open source approach contributes to this as well.
Right. No licensing fees and a community-driven development model are very appealing, especially for startups and independent developers.
They're lowering the barriers to entry for AI development, which could lead to a whole new wave of innovation.
It's an exciting prospect, but I'm sure it's not all smooth sailing for DeepSeek. What are some of the challenges they're facing?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is what's known as the compute gap. Because of those U.S. export controls, they have limited access to the most advanced chips.
So they're operating with a bit of a handicap.
In a way, yes, but they're still achieving incredible results, which is a testament to their ingenuity. But hardware is just one hurdle. They also need to build trust and recognition in the global market.
It's tough to compete with companies like OpenAI and Google that have already established themselves as leaders in the field.
Exactly. It takes time to build that kind of reputation, to demonstrate consistent reliability and performance.
And of course, they have to deal with the issue of censorship. Operating within China's political system presents its own unique set of challenges.
That's right. Their models are subject to censorship, which could be a concern for some potential users.
It's a tricky situation for them to navigate. They have to balance their commitment to open source and innovation with the realities of their political environment.
Yeah.
But even with these challenges, they've made a huge impact.
Absolutely. They've forced the industry to rethink cost and efficiency, and their commitment to open source is democratizing AI development in a way that we haven't seen before.
And remember that crypto market crash we mentioned earlier?
The one triggered by the release of DeepSeek R1. Yes, investors saw DeepSeek's advancements as a sign that the old rules of AI were being rewritten, and they reacted accordingly.
It's a pretty powerful testament to the impact they're having. They're sending shockwaves through multiple industries. But how does this all play into the bigger picture of the future of AI?
Well, that's what we're going to explore next. DeepSeek's story isn't just about a single company. It's about a potential paradigm shift in how we think about artificial intelligence.
Okay, I'm officially hooked.
Great. Because there's a lot more to discuss. We need to delve into the broader implications of DeepSeek's rise and what it could mean for the future of AI.
Let's do it.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The impact they're having. It's like DeepSeek is throwing a stone into a pond and the ripples are spreading out, touching everything.
Yeah, that crypto crash was definitely a sign that people are paying attention. Like, whoa, this is serious.
It's a wake-up call, for sure. This is not just some tech industry thing happening in a silo. AI has the potential to impact all sorts of things that we might not even think about.
Yeah, you're right. And that brings up a big question, doesn't it? With DeepSeek's success and their efficient models, do you think we're going to see a shift away from those massive, resource-intensive AI models that have been so dominant?
It's the question everyone is asking, right? Is this the turning point? For so long, the thinking has been bigger is better when it comes to AI. More data, more computing power, that's the only way to get groundbreaking results.
Right. And DeepSeek is coming in and saying, hold on, maybe not. Maybe there's a different way, a more efficient way.
They're proving that you can achieve remarkable performance with significantly fewer resources.
And that has huge implications, doesn't it? I mean, imagine a world where powerful AI is no longer exclusive to those giant tech companies and well-funded labs.
Right. What if smaller businesses, startups, even individuals could actually have access to cutting-edge AI tools?
That would be a game changer. It could democratize AI development in a way that we haven't seen before.
Exactly. It's like the early days of personal computing. Who knows what amazing things people could create if these powerful AI tools were readily available.
It's exciting to think about all the possibilities, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. There's still some big challenges that need to be addressed.
Right. That compute gap we talked about, that's a major hurdle for DeepSeek. Even with their clever techniques, their restricted access to those top-of-the-line chips could limit their ability to keep pushing the boundaries at the same pace.
And they still need to build that trust and recognition in the market.
People tend to stick with what they know, right?
Right.
So DeepSeek has to really prove themselves. They need to demonstrate consistent reliability, performance, and transparency. They've got to win people over.
And they have to do it in a world where the pace of AI development is incredibly fast. New breakthroughs are happening constantly.
It's like a marathon, but the finish line keeps moving further and further away.
Exactly. And then there's that issue of censorship.
Yeah, that's a tough one. How do they reconcile their commitment to open source and their ambitious goals with the realities of operating within a system that exerts control over information?
It's a tricky balancing act for them. But let's zoom out a bit and think about the geopolitical implications of DeepSeek's rise. This isn't just a tech story, right?
You got it. It's a power dynamic story as well.
Yeah.
The U.S. has long been the dominant force in AI, but DeepSeek signals a potential shift.
China's really stepping up their game.
Absolutely. They're closing the gap quickly, and in some areas, they might even be leading the way. It's a reminder that innovation isn't confined to any one place.
It's happening all over the world, and that could lead to a multipolar world of AI where the U.S. isn't the only player in the game.
It's a huge shift, and it could have significant implications for all sorts of things. Technology, global economics, international relations, you name it.
Okay, wow. That's a lot to unpack. But you know what else I find fascinating about all of this? The potential impact DeepSeek could have on our understanding of AGI.
Artificial general intelligence, you mean that whole machines achieving human-level intelligence thing?
Yeah, exactly. It's been a topic of discussion for decades, mostly in the realm of science fiction, but now we have a company like DeepSeek, whose founder has explicitly stated that AGI is their ultimate goal.
It's a bold goal, and they're not just talking about it, they're actually taking a different approach to achieving it.
They're not just focused on building bigger and bigger models, are they?
Nope. They're emphasizing efficiency, optimizing their resources, and focusing on those unique learning techniques like reinforcement learning. It's almost like they're trying to create a more holistic intelligence, something that goes beyond just raw processing power.
Like they're trying to replicate the way humans learn and adapt, not just crunch numbers.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if this approach might be the key to unlocking AGI.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on, but as AI gets more sophisticated, we can't ignore the ethical considerations either.
You're absolutely right. We can't just focus on the technical advancements. We need to think about how this technology is going to be used and what kind of future we want to create with it.
Especially with a company like DeepSeek operating in a political system that's not exactly known for its transparency, there are a lot of ethical questions that need to be addressed.
How do we ensure that AI is used responsibly and ethically? How do we prevent misuse? How do we make sure it benefits humanity as a whole? These are all questions that need to be part of the conversation.
It's like we're standing at a fork in the road, and we need to be very careful about which path we choose.
We're not just talking about the future of technology here. We're talking about the future of humanity.
DeepSeek's story is a reminder that we need to be having these conversations now, before it's too late.
We need to be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah.
We need to think about the long-term implications of the choices we're making today.
There's a lot of potential for good here, but there are also risks that we can't ignore. It's about finding that balance, isn't it?
Finding that balance is crucial. We need to harness the power of AI for the benefit of humanity while also being mindful of the potential downsides.
I think that's a really important point, and it's something that we should all be thinking about, not just the experts and the policymakers.
Everyone needs to be part of this conversation.
Agreed. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from DeepSeek's technical innovations to the broader ethical and geopolitical implications of their rise. And I think we've only just scratched the surface.
There's always more to explore, more to learn, and more to question.
But I think we've provided a good starting point for understanding why DeepSeek is such a fascinating company to watch and why their story is so important in the grand scheme of things.
They're shaking things up. That's a good thing.
Absolutely. Now, I know we're running short on time, but there's one more aspect of DeepSeek that I want to highlight. Their unique funding model. They're entirely backed by their founder's hedge fund, which is pretty unusual, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not the norm. Most AI startups are chasing venture capital funding, which comes with its own set of pressures.
Right. Those investors are usually looking for a quick return. That can sometimes lead to companies focusing on short-term gains rather than long-term goals.
Exactly. But DeepSeek doesn't have that pressure. They have the freedom to pursue those big, ambitious goals without having to worry about pleasing investors every quarter.
It's a different way of doing things. I wonder if this hedge fund-backed model might become more common in the future, and what that would mean for the direction of AI research.
An interesting thought. Does it allow for more audacious long-term thinking? Or does it introduce new risks and biases? Only time will tell, I guess.
It's something to keep an eye on, for sure. Now, before we wrap up, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about the human side of this story. We've talked a lot about the technology and the business, but what about the people behind DeepSeek?
It's a good point. It's easy to get lost in the algorithms and the benchmarks. But at the end of the day, AI is a human endeavor.
It's driven by people with their own motivations, dreams, and anxieties. I'd love to learn more about the team at DeepSeek, their backgrounds, their passions, what drives them. What are their hopes for the future of AI? How do they envision their work changing the world?
Those are the kinds of questions that get to the heart of it, aren't they? The why behind the what.
Exactly. As we explore this world of artificial intelligence, it's important to remember that it's all ultimately about people.
It's about our values, our aspirations, our fears, and our shared future.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
We've explored a lot of fascinating territory today, haven't we? From DeepSeek's innovative tech to those ethical and geopolitical implications, it's clear that their story is far from over.
It's a reminder that we're living in a time of incredible change and that the future of AI is something we're all shaping together.
And that's both exciting and a little bit daunting.
I agree. But it's a journey worth taking, and I'm glad we could share it with you today. I mean, it makes you think, how are those big AI companies like OpenAI and Google reacting to DeepSeek? They've got to be feeling the pressure, eh?
I'm sure they're watching DeepSeek very closely. They have to be.
I can only imagine the conversations happening in those boardrooms.
Right. DeepSeek is doing more than just offering a slightly better product. They're challenging the whole way the AI industry works, how it's developed, how it's priced, how it's shared. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a total disruption of the status quo. And
Yeah.
these big players can't just ignore it. So what do you think their response will be? Will we see them trying to acquire DeepSeek?
It's definitely a possibility, right?
Buy them out, bring their talent and technology in-house, kind of neutralize the threat?
It's a classic move. But they could also go the other way. Double down on their own approaches, you know?
Pour even more resources into their research, try to stay ahead in the AI arms race.
Exactly. Or maybe even try to find ways to incorporate some of DeepSeek's innovations into their own models.
It's like a high-stakes game of chess, figuring out their next move, trying to outmaneuver each other.
And the whole world's watching to see how it plays out. Because it's going to have a huge impact on the future of AI.
DeepSeek has injected this uncertainty into the AI landscape. It's exciting, but it's also a little bit scary.
There's that feeling of standing on the edge of something new and unknown.
Like we're at a crossroads, and DeepSeek is pointing us down a new path, a different way of thinking about AI.
And it's a path that leads towards more efficiency, more openness, and a more level playing field.
It's a powerful reminder that innovation can come from anywhere and shake things up in unexpected ways. And it's a call to action for all of us to pay attention and think critically about the role of AI in our lives.
Absolutely. We need to be more than just passive observers. We need to be active participants in shaping the future of AI.
Engaging in these conversations, asking tough questions, thinking about the ethical implications.
That's the only way we can make sure that AI is used responsibly and for the benefit of everyone.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From DeepSeek's technical innovations to their market disruption and what it all means for the future, I think it's safe to say DeepSeek's journey is far from over.
Definitely not. And we'll be here to follow it every step of the way.
And we hope you'll join us too. Keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.
The future of AI is something we're all creating together.
That's it for this deep dive. Until next time.